All right, well, it's going to take an entire army to fix Detroit's screwed up property tax system, but I think I have an army here with me to do that. 3 months ago, I stood at Mackinac, laid out a plan, and said, we're going to take 3 months and have stakeholder meetings across the city and get input from everyone. We've held more than 50 meetings with urban farmers, with state officials, with neighborhood groups, scrapyard owners, grocery store owners, affordable housing developers, and just people from the neighborhood. And I want to, at this point, thank the people who have been driving this. Jay Rising, leaning against the street end sign, our chief financial officer, and his team, Kevin Bain, Nick Allen, Alvin Horn. The Invest Detroit folks, and you're going to hear from some of them, Charity Dean, Rich Hardiman, Richard Hosey, who have been going into community meetings and having the conversations, and council members Dura Hall, Young, and Santiago Romero, who have supported and provided input every step of the way. Based on that input, we've made several modifications to the plan. And I'm glad to say that next week, State Representative Stephanie A. Young is going to introduce legislation to let the voters of Detroit to decide whether we should cut the property taxes on homeowners by 17% and shift those costs to the owners of abandoned buildings, scrap yards, parking lots. That's something the people of Detroit should get a chance to decide, and we want to make that happen. There are 3 changes to the tax structure from what I talked about originally at Mackinac. The first one is we are proposing cutting taxes on all improvements in this city by 14 mills. Now at Mackinac, I talked about 26 mills, and that involved cutting taxes that affected the state school aid fund. State officials were not comfortable with us doing things that affected the school funding, and there were uniformity legal questions. So we came back and said, okay, what can we do? And we wanted to evaluate Detroit's tax structure compared to our neighbors. And how much do we have to cut to be competitive? This is a map that's included in your packets. The red cities, and this is Detroit and our surrounding cities, the red cities assess their homeowners more than 60 mills. They are the highest tax cities in the entire state of Michigan. The blue cities are between 50 and 60 mills. And you can see from this, Detroit at 67 mills is up there with Hazel Park, East Point, Harper Woods, River Rouge, Ecorse, Melvindale, Highland Park as the highest tax cities in the state of Michigan. Those are the red cities. But the ones surrounding us, the Southfields, the Warrens, the Grosse Pointes, they tend to be 53 to 57 mills. We said, what do we have to do in a property tax cut so Detroiters are competitive with the surrounding cities? And with today's proposal, the new tax and the maps will look like this. That Detroit will, for the first time in decades, have a property tax rate that's comparable to Southfield, Warren, Grosse Pointe, Ferndale, Oak Park, and our neighbors. That's what we're trying to achieve, and at 14 mills, we accomplish that. We are proposing doubling the taxes on land in this city, actually going from 85 to 189 mills, a little more than doubling. I had wanted to triple the tax on the land, but this, I think, will still accomplish what we want. There are far too many people who are speculating on land, leaving it vacant. Far too many people who own abandoned buildings and leave them there. Far too many people just sitting on their land, not developing it. When we raise the taxes a little more than double, we will start to create incentives for them to improve that property the way they should. The third change we're making is this. At Mackinac, I propose phasing this in over 3 years. We're now changing to say let's do it all at once. If the voters of this city in February of '24 choose to implement this plan, we will put the entire tax cut in 2025, which means an immediate 17% average tax cut for homeowners in the city. It's actually a bigger cut earlier than what we had proposed. There are 4 other changes that are significant. They're the 4 protections. I call them the Stephanie Young protections, because Representative Young has added 4 protections to Detroiters in the legislation she's introducing. 1, no homeowner will get a property tax increase as a result of the land value tax. 97% are going to get cuts anyway, but with this guarantee, no one gets an increase. Second, urban farms and community gardens will not get a tax increase as a result of the land value tax. All right? So the urban farms, community gardens, community spaces, these have enormous public value. They're used by the community. And so they will be exempt from the land value tax. You will be protected. Third, there's going to be protection for side lot owners. This is something that, there you go, that Representative Young, Councilman Durhal, a number of others have been focused on. And here's the thing, we have sold 25,000 side lots to neighbors in this city. Now, under this proposal, when you raise the land tax, the average side lot's going to go up about 30 bucks. It's going to go up from $25 to about $55. Now, most people, their houses are going to come down hundreds of dollars. They won't get a tax increase from a $30 increase. But we do have people who have like 2 and 3 and 4 side lots. And what Representative Young said is, I want you to count the 4 side lots, and I want to guarantee that nobody gets an overall tax increase between their house and the side lots. And so what the legislation will say is that between your house and up to 4 side lots, you are guaranteed no property tax increase as a result of the land value tax. And the final piece is protection from NEZ holders. And the neighborhood enterprise zone has been an issue in the city for a while. Detroiters understand it, at least those who get the NEZs. But basically, 90% of Detroiters pay 67 mills in taxes. 10% of Detroiters pay 53 mills. They're in specially designated neighborhoods that came in under the Kilpatrick administration about 2007, 2008. And when you get an NEZ, you have to fill out paperwork. It's good for 15 years. What we're saying is if you have an NEZ, you can keep your NEZ. You're protected, you get no increase. When your NEZ expires, you'll go to the permanent 17% land value tax cut. But after this, there'll be no new NEZs in the future. We should not have a city where some neighborhoods are taxed 67 mills and some neighborhoods are taxed 53 mills. And so after the existing NEZ holders run out, and many of them are running out now because a lot of them started about 2008, many of the 15 years are running out. When they run out, we will have a single millage rate for every neighborhood in the city of Detroit. That's equity. That's something that should have been done. But if you're an existing NEZ holder, you are protected. You don't get an increase as a result of this. What we have to do now, and the timing is this. This goes on the ballot if Detroit City Council chooses to put it on the ballot in November in time to make the February 24 presidential primary. If we're going to have a tax cut in 25, we got to pass it in February 24 because it takes a year to get the tax bills ready. That means the Michigan legislature has to authorize Detroiters to vote, and they've got to pass that bill by the end of October. We have been enormously fortunate that Speaker Joe Tate has been behind this from day one. He couldn't be here today, but he is definitely here with us in spirit. But he said to me, the ideal sponsor for this bill will be the person who came out of the neighborhoods, the district manager who knows everything about side lots, urban farms, and the aspiration of the homeowners in this city. And I couldn't be more pleased to introduce the sponsor of this legislation, Representative Stephanie A. Young.
All right, Detroit, District 1. This is a good day. The mayor, he was really generous. He didn't get into how many things I had to say and how they took the time to address each and every one of my concerns, because that's important. It was really important for me to be certain that folks like Rise over in the Pollination Corridor, that's done what we've asked Detroiters to do. As a district manager, we were charged to be blight eliminators, to be the real, I saw John George pull up on a bike, but to be partners in blight busting across the city. And so that's what we did, and part of that charge including encouraging residents to literally change blight to beauty by acquiring side lots and vacant lots, and many of them have done that. And so when I first heard this proposal, I was immediately concerned. I'm like, we cannot hurt the people who stepped up to help us. We have to hold them harmless. And that's what we've done with this legislation. And let's be clear about the legislation, because the mayor just said it. He just ended it with this. What I'm introducing, and what I'm so grateful I have colleagues with me from the legislature, but we'll be introducing enabling legislation. This will allow the Detroit to do this. This is not a mandate. This is not done when this legislation gets signed by the governor. This actually starts the process. And the process involves you. The process involves our neighbors. It involves the residents. You will have an opportunity to come and have your questions asked and answered. You will have an opportunity to see details of this. But we're just trying to do something that hasn't been done and allow Detroit to go from that red map, Mr. Mayor, to the blue, like our surrounding communities. It's time for us to not have to pay to board up all the blighted properties. It's time for those folks to pay their fair share. Or is it just me who believes they should pay their fair share? As a district manager, we're the ones that started the board up program. What were we boarding up? These vacant, abandoned properties that the owners decided to walk away from. Those were the houses we were boarding up. And guess what? Because of this screwy tax system, they ain't even pay taxes on their properties because their properties weren't valued at anything. So we took the time and the energy and the money to clean up their properties. Well, I'm saying the bill is come due, y'all. Get ready, because we're focusing on Detroiters today. We're focusing on ourselves today. And so I'm grateful to be in partnership with the mayor, with city council, with all of my colleagues to do the right thing and to be certain that folks have an opportunity to see a savings once and for all here in the city of Detroit. And so with that, it is my honor to bring up another partner, someone who's worked with us tirelessly in making and turning blight into beauty and providing our communities with safety. And that would be where, there she is. Come on up here. I'm looking for our very own Mama Jerry with the Oakland Avenue Urban Farms. God bless you and thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you. Peace out. It is a beautiful day today. And so I want to say thank you to Mayor Duggan. Thank you to Representatives Stephanie Young, because when we also heard the farmers about this new tax valuation plan, we were like, oh, hold up, wait a minute. What does that mean to us? What is that going to happen? What is that going to do to us? And so we were very vocal in a meeting with the mayor, and he was like, let's come together and talk about it. So we got together and we talked about it, right? And we talked about it, and we kept on talking about it, and he listened. His team listened. They took things into consideration that really the city officials didn't really know about Urban Ag. There are over 2,200 schools, church, urban farms, and community gardens in the city of Detroit, happening in our neighborhoods around the city, right? And what has happened, we've made a difference in these communities. We have stabilized these communities. We are feeding folks in our community and creating spaces where folks feel welcome. And so because of that, the mayor said, okay, let's put language in here that protects our urban farmers and our gardens. And so that language is here. We are thankful for the partnership and the honesty and the commitment. And we're also thankful because the mayor said, not only do we need to do this, but I think we need to appoint a director of urban agriculture. So that is coming. There is going to be representation from our community working with the mayor's office and the city of Detroit to continue to raise the awareness of how important urban ag is to the city of Detroit, okay? Shout out to the mayor.
Thank you so much, Mama Jerry. Next up, we'd like to all hear from one of our good partners, Flor Hernandez. She's the president of the Livernois Dragoon Block Club. There she is. Come on up. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Flor Rivera Hernandez. I am a District 6 resident, and I'm here today to be able to talk about how important it is to be able to pass legislation such as the land value tax. For myself, I was a homeowner at the age of 18, and I would have loved to have been able to have the land value tax in place because it would have been very beneficial, and I feel it would have helped me a lot financially. And it's especially important to be able to implement this legislation for residents within my community because we have such a dense population that are primarily homeowners. And this tax break is going to be very well deserved to our community members. And I also believe that it will help incentivize being able to create and influence new home ownership, especially for the younger population, such as myself. I also believe that receiving this tax break is going to be able to do wonders for our community in the long run, and I would love to be able to support this legislation, especially on behalf of young folks such as myself, so that way we can also start being able to uplift the young adults within our community and support them in the ways that we have not been supported previously. So I do believe in this tax break, and I'm excited that we'll be able to be receiving this in 2025. And we'll also be able to receive and feel the benefits since we'll be having this tax break all at once. Thank you again. I really appreciate your time. And once again, my name is Flor Rivera Hernandez, and I look forward to being able to help this with our community.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, man. Who else had a home at 18? Let's just give her one more round of applause. I love it when our young people are part of the system. And so with that, I'd like to bring up one of our newest legislators. This is a good colleague. You know, I met him along the way. And he has such a heart for service that it's just refreshing when you're dealing with politics and you're dealing with all the folks that you got to deal with on our side of the aisle and on the other side of the aisle. It's good to have this fresh energy ready to get to work no matter what. And so with that, I'd like to bring up Representative Alabas Farhat from District 7.
Now, how are we all doing today? Are we excited? We're talking about property taxes coming down for the first time. Are we excited? Are we pumped up? And not only that, we're talking about the state for the first time working with the city of Detroit, not governing at the city of Detroit, working with, giving the voters an option to choose and control their own destiny. Now, that's a fresh breath of air for a city that decades ago was forced down with laws from a different majority that told them what they had to do and handcuffed Detroit's future. Under the leadership of Speaker Joe Tate, a native of Detroit, and with the partnership from the Mayor, Mike Duggan, and Representative Stephanie Young, it is a new day for Detroiters in Lansing, where we're pushing the agenda forward on property tax reform, bringing down property taxes. But not just that, forcing and making it cost prohibitive to leave a property vacant, to let blight plague our city. For too long, it's been easy. It's been easy for them to leave a parcel vacant or to let a building run down or to turn it into to turn it into a parking lot. When in reality, these are ripe areas for development, for folks to move in, for new revenue for our city to generate. And time and again, we've seen it, where they'd rather just pay a negligible property tax bill. But this changes the tone and says that Detroit, when the residents of Detroit, will be at the forefront of seeing relief and not folks who are going to speculate and sit on their hands while we're trying to put our city and make our city the beacon on the hill that we know it is. Now, I'm excited for this legislation to be pushed forward, and I'm excited for Representative Stephanie Young because there is nobody who understands the issues impacting Detroiters better than her. Her heart is in the right place, and she challenges us each and every time to put Detroiters first. And that's something I'm proud of doing as somebody who represents a large portion of Detroit. And I look forward to seeing this legislation being shepherded along the way, and I'm looking forward to the residents of Detroit being able to controlling their own destiny for the first time in a long time, with this being on the ballot. And with that, you know, another one of my colleagues who I'm going to bring up here, who fights for Detroit just as hard and just as tenaciously. We love and call her the magical state rep, Representative Karen Whitsett. I'd like to invite her up.
I don't know if I can follow that. I set up Detroit and I wrote a speech. And I had planned to say it. But I realized why. I live in this community. I'm from this neighborhood. I've been here for over 50 years. So it's not like I need someone to tell me what's going on in my community. My neighborhood used to look like this one. And that was a great childhood. But children right now are not getting that luxury because they're walking by abandoned buildings, schools that are abandoned, scrapyard after scrapyard after tow yard after tow yard. And I don't have to tell you that. You already know. You've seen it. I watched the American Motors building destroy our community. And now we have an opportunity for that to come back, and that's thanks to the mayor. So I want to see these things continue to grow and make our community better, and this bill does that. Representative Young and the mayor have definitely come with a great plan that will assist us all in the community, because for me, it's very personal. On my block alone, there are 3 houses, 3, that someone actually still owns. They have done nothing with this property, and I'm not saying 5 years or a few years. No, this has been 30 years. Why they've sat on this and pay the property taxes up, I have no idea. But this is what we're dealing with in the community. And I'm glad that these things are being addressed, and this bill does that. And I want to thank the mayor and Representative Young for championing this, because this is what we need. This is what's going to help move Detroit forward, and I'm glad to be a part of that movement. I'd like to now bring up City Councilman former Representative Fred Durha.
There you
Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is going to be just so amazing. I remember when the mayor initially approached me, as well as our other state legislators, and they said, is this something that you can get behind as a council member? I said, well, you're lowering taxes for 97% of homeowners in the city of Detroit. That is a no-brainer. When we talk about today, we talk about equity. That is the most important thing that should come out of today, is equity for our residents, our homeowners here in the city of Detroit. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So when Mayor Duggan showed the map of our surrounding cities and municipalities and showing how they are paying lower taxes than our Detroit residents here and our homeowners here, we have to take action and do something. And so what you will see is that equity come into play. I can tell you as a council member, when we talk to our residents and we go through our neighborhoods and commercial corridors and they see abandoned lots, they see abandoned buildings, they see blighted structures, one of the first questions that they ask us is, who owns that? Are they paying their taxes on there? I am a tax-paying homeowner, but yet these folks are allowed to operate and have these buildings and pay little taxes. We want our fair share. Folks who have lived here in the city of Detroit 30, 40, 50, 60 years owning homes here in the city of Detroit, paying higher taxes than cities and municipalities around them, and who have stuck and stayed, who have persevered. Today is your day. We are keeping you in mind today as we work to lower the taxes. Our community gardens, as well as our urban farmers who have taken the action to buy these side lots and develop upon them, they've taken more action than other folks who own these lots and leave them abandoned. You are exempt. You are exempt because we value your contributions. We value your commitment to the city of Detroit. And today, I am happy to stand here and support this plan. Most importantly, when it gets through the legislature, it will come to the council table, and I will be very vocal on my support for this plan. And with that takes great partners, two of my greatest partners who are here today, and Councilmember Coleman Young and Councilmember Santiago Romero, who will help us carry this across the finish line to ensure our residents get what they deserve. So I am honored to introduce one of my partners. As a former state legislator, we served at the same time, but now one of my right-hand partners on Detroit City Council, the Honorable Coleman A. Young II.
Well, hello, everybody. At a time when people have been overtaxed, at a time when people are struggling to hold on to their homes, at a time when people are making basic decisions. Am I going to buy groceries? Am I going to keep my water on? Am I going to pay my, am I going to be able to buy diapers? Am I going to buy prescription drugs? Or am I just going to be able to pay my property taxes? There is nothing more powerful than the idea that time has come. And the idea of a land value tax is an idea that time has come. We are talking about a 17% permanent tax cut in property taxes for 97% of Detroit homeowners in 2025. We are reducing the millage rate from 67 mills to 53 mills. Approximately 70% of small businesses in Detroit will save on taxes immediately. And no, Detroit homeowners' property taxes will be raised as a result of the land value tax plan. Let me say that again. And no, Detroit homeowners' property taxes will be raised as a result of the land value tax plan. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate that support. As a former state legislator, having sponsored a land value tax in the legislature, introduced it, it's rare that you get an opportunity to finish something in the state legislature, you started in the state legislature, and now get to finish in city council. I look forward to passing this in the state legislature, being approved by the council, and then voted on by the people in the presidential primary in February of 2024. I thank the mayor and my colleagues for their leadership on this issue, and I look forward to its passage. Thank you very much.
Oh, wait. There you go.
Go ahead. Got a little excited there. And I would like to introduce the council member, Santiago Romero, everybody.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Since I've started my tenure, I've asked the administration and the state to consider a dual tax system to ensure that everyone is paying their fair share. It's easy to say, look into the solution. It's another thing to implement and to make sure it works. I'm grateful that both parties are working together to find ways to bring real relief to our residents. I have seen countless of my neighbors, I've seen countless neighbors of mine fill their U-Hauls and leave the city for a neighboring suburb. These neighbors come back to see their families, to see their friends, to go to our games, to eat at our incredible restaurants. Detroit should not be a place where people feel like they can only afford to visit. We must make our residents be able to live here, play here, and thrive here. I believe in process, and our office is committed to holding a community meeting in the next few weeks to work with the administration to hear of any concerns, any ideas that residents might have, and any desired outcomes. While we're working on tax reform, we cannot forget our need to address the overassessment of our properties. We have a lot of work to do, but we're committed to providing this much-needed change. We should all be able to live in a place that we love. Thank you to the administration and Representative Young for your efforts. I look forward to working together to ensure that our Detroiters feel real relief. Thank you so much.
There you go. That's right. That's right. We didn't forget y'all over there. We see you. Good stuff. So with that, I'd like to bring up another one of our great community partners. Under redistricting, she used to be one of my constituents, but I lost her in redistricting, but she's still doing amazing work. Somebody ordered something. The package is being delivered. And so here we go. I would like.
Confirmation of excitement.
Is that it? Okay, okay. So with that, I would like to bring up the founder of Metro Detroit Black Business Alliance, my friend, my partner, the owner of Rosa Coffee Shop, used to be my neighborhood city hall offer, the one, the only, Charity Dean. There she is.
So welcome to my neighborhood. I am excited about this plan, and I'm going to tell you 3 reasons why. First, City Council Member Coleman Young mentioned, and I think someone else mentioned earlier, the power of our small business community in the city of Detroit. Small businesses are drivers of economic development in our neighborhoods. They hire Detroiters, they contribute to commercial corridors, and they are going to win under this plan. And so because of that, I am proud to support it. The NEZ is really important. If you think about the way the city of Detroit has enacted these property taxes over the past year, we had pockets of folks that were paying different taxes. When we think about the path forward and the future that we want to see in Detroit, we can't imagine a future of Detroit if we're not talking about equity. This tax plan brings that to bear. Thirdly, let's talk about equity. This, thank God, is not a program that you have to apply for. You don't have to go down to City Hall. You don't have to call somebody. You don't have to call your district manager. This is something that automatically happens. And so that's a step toward equity, right? Process. Most importantly, I cannot speak if I'm not talking about racial equity. We have a racial wealth gap in our country, in our state, and in our city. And a lot of times that racial wealth gap is manifested in access to land and access to home ownership. On this street right here, Rosemont, 50 years ago, my great-grandmother, Rosa Malone, who Rosa is named after, attempted to purchase her home and went through barriers. The family that wanted to sell her home got death threats because she and my great-grandfather, Elijah, were to be the second black family in this home. And so when you think about the journey that we had as people to acquire land in this beautiful city, what better way to continue the work to close the racial wealth gap, to build generational wealth, than to deal with our property tax issues? So for that, I'm very excited. I want to say first, thank you first and foremost to the team that's been working tirelessly for this for years, the folks at Invest Detroit, the folks in the mayor's office, city council, the speaker Joe Tate, Representative Stephanie Young, who is my friend and my mom's neighbor. But the team, the mayor says it's going to take an army to get it done. It's going to take an army to close the racial wealth gap, and I'm glad we're making a step toward that process. Thank you.
Okay. So next up, I think Charity was supposed to do this, but
Oh, my bad.
you want to do it? You want to? Yes. Just go ahead. See, I knew you wanted to. There you go.
Sorry, y'all, I got excited. It gives me great pleasure to introduce a friend of mine, also one of the founders of the Metro Detroit Black Business Alliance, but he's also an amazing developer in the city of Detroit, the one and only Richard Hosey.
Thank you so much. I am very excited about this. Obviously, the end result, the reduction, the assistance to all of the homeowners and the city of Detroit. But what really excited me was the process, right? Starting out with a large group of people trying to come to idea of how do you give a great benefit to all of the homeowners, all the long-term Detroiters who have been here, addressing that equity and having that benefit and making it automatic, obviously, so that they can just continue their life, go to work, and have this benefit because they're not professional developers filling out forms and those type of things. But then the next step was, all right, what did we get wrong? Let's go to the community. Let's talk to everybody. Let's make sure that there's buy-in, there's understanding. And so that process, I found it just to be really kind of invigorating, this idea that this can be done, and this can be done the right way, that we can actually go out, talk to people, hear what needs to be adjusted, make those decisions. Watching the administration and Representative Young lead that process and make those adjustments in real time, I just found it very rewarding. I think this is a great thing for the city, a great thing obviously for the citizens, but also a great example of how to do it right. So thank you very much. And I think we have, yep. Next we have Ron Otto, President of East English Village Association.
Good afternoon, everybody. And thank you very much, Mayor Duggan, for having me. My name is Ron Otto. I'm the president of East English Village over on the east side. We're in between Morningside and Cornerstone. And I think I was asked here because I wear two hats, because I represented a community of 2,100 homes. And what happens is we get a lot of feedback, and we're always in touch with the city office, and people always have a strong opinion, especially when there's a new proposal. And we've been looking at this and thinking about this, and I want to share experience we had this past year. We were looking at doing an assessment in our neighborhood for some added services. And over this last year, we had a lot of community engagement, a lot of feedback. And one thing that keeps coming back is, you know, these last few years have been really hard on people. Inflation, our electricity is more expensive, our gas is more expensive. You know, our assessments, all of that, property is up. And people need a break. And it just wasn't the time to do it. Even though it's just $150, well, just $150 can be a lot. We have a lot of people on fixed income in our neighborhood. And that's really important right now. And when I heard about this tax, I got really excited that we can go back to the community and say, look, your taxes are going down 17%. And for us in our neighborhood, that's about $243. That's a start. This is a great start. And if your taxes are guaranteed, they're not going to go up, I really can't argue that. So I'm really excited to get back to the community, invite the mayor to come talk to everybody about this. My favorite bit about this, too, is Detroiters get a say in whether this is going to happen. They're going to be able to vote on this, whether they want this or not. So it's up to them. Thank you very much.
All right, and with that, we'll take questions. Yes, sir. Well, no city has the right to do this without state authorization. Having Gretchen Whitmer as the governor, having Joe Tate from Detroit as the speaker, and having Senator Winnie Brooks in the majority, I think this will get pushed up Lansing's priority list a lot faster than it otherwise would have. So I know Representative Young could speak to that, but I think the climate's good.
Yeah, no, that's very important. We all know about the historic trifecta that we're experiencing right now in state government. So why would we wait? I feel like Detroiters have waited long enough to finally see some type of tax relief like what we're proposing on today.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, there are a number of issues that need to be addressed. City Council, I know, is considering a property tax ordinance issue. That'll be done at the City Council level. But what we are talking about today is state legislation, and that's this issue. We got a lot of other things to address as well. Right now, what we're saying is we hope the legislature will give Detroiters a chance to vote to cut their taxes 17%. All you got to do is take out your bill and take 17% off it. And so if your bill's $1,000, it'd be $170. If your bill's $2,000, it'd be $340. And that's an average. Think about what we're doing. We're cutting the taxes on the building, 14 mills. We're doubling the taxes on the land. So if you're on a lot where you've got a big house and a little backyard, you'll tend to get more than a 17% cut. If you tend to have a little house with a big yard, you'll tend to get less than a 17% cut. But on average, it'll come out to 17%. We've guaranteed nobody gets an increase. Yes?
Hi, I'm Professor Bernadette Atuahene. I'm with the Coalition for Property Tax Justice. We as an organization haven't yet taken a position on the land but all the empirical studies, 3 of them have shown that the lowest value homes are still being illegally assessed in violation of the Michigan State Constitution. And so the problem we have with the land value tax plan is that you are now adding onerous administrative duties on top of an assessment division that's currently not doing its job. And so what you must do first is pass the property tax reform ordinance and clean up the show in the assessment division before we can move to the land value tax plan. Because the land value tax plan is perhaps, depending on how the details pan out, it perhaps is very good for Detroiters. But again, it requires an administrative burden that our current assessment division has shown it's not up to the task for. We need to fix the, we need to, it's like we're putting a Band-Aid on a wounded knee before we put a cast on the broken arm.
So the great thing about democracy is people can disagree. And the assessor, the state tax commission, and the courts disagree with you, but you are entitled to continue to advocate for your position. And we'll this is the great thing about democracy. We're going to put it before the voters and let the voters decide. And that's what we're looking forward to. Yes?
Mr. Mayor, will it be something that is automatic, or would there be
Yeah. No, this is the point that I think Charity Dean was making. This is automatic. You get the 17% reduction. The mills come right off your 2025 bill. You don't have to fill out any form. You don't have to call any office. You don't need to get any approval. Your taxes go down automatically as a cut. Yes?
It might be a little early, but could you sort of say what the potential ballot would say to voters?
Jay Rising probably is the person who knows that best, but it basically will be a question of something along the lines of, do you want to reduce taxes on improvements by 14 mills, and do you want to double taxes on land with protections in for urban farms, side lots, and assuring nobody gets a tax increase? Something like that will be the ballot language. Yes?
Mr. Mayor, why does this have to go on the ballot?
Because under the Michigan Constitution, you cannot raise taxes without a vote of the people. And we are proposing raising the land tax, doubling the land tax. So under the Michigan Constitution, the legislature can't do it. The public must do it. But secondarily, I think everybody up here agrees the voters should decide this. And I think that's what we all want. We want to this is going to be a major decision for the long-term direction of Detroit, and we want the voters to decide it, right? I don't know if you want to.
No, that's it.
Yes.
You said, like, if I have a lot attached to my house, a big lot, I'll be taxed extra for the lot, but not for my house.
You'll be taxed 14 mills less for your house. You'll be taxed double for the land. But if you look at your bills, all of the value is in the house. Land in this city is assessed at next to nothing. So when we double the land, as I say, it's going to take a side lot from $25 to $55. So you'll be able to look at what you've got, but on average, you put the land and the house together, the average tax cut will be 17%. Yes?
Is there any concern that a doubling of the land tax could have a freezing effect on potential investment in the city?
No, I think it'll have the opposite. Right now, you got folks who are sitting on huge abandoned apartment buildings paying $1,000 a year in taxes. Now we're going to make them pay $2,200 a year in taxes. Hopefully, they'll say, why do I keep paying this taxes on land I don't develop? Sell it to somebody who will. Maybe it's time for me to invest. Right now, there are 30,000 vacant lots in this city owned by private owners who are paying the taxes every year, waiting for somebody to come along and want to build some kind of huge plant there and pay them a fortune. Those people are not paying their fair share. What this is going to do is more than double the taxes on them and make them think twice about it. I've talked to some of the urban farmers who would like to expand their farms. There's their land next to a speculator. Somebody's doing nothing with it because it's so cheap. Be really good if the taxes went up that they said, hey, why don't we sell this to the farmers? Let's expand the farmland. Let's put this into productivity. And as the earlier speaker mentioned, I am going to hire a full-time urban ag director to help support the urban farming initiatives in this community. Yes?
So, Mayor, what's the reaction been like from Olympia, some of the owners of these surface parking lots, large kind of portfolios?
I'm going to let them speak for themselves, but I think you will see. I had yesterday a major scrapyard owner tell me he's going to support this because he's paying more money, but he thinks this is absolutely right for the future of Detroit. And so I think you will see our leaders who are paying more in taxes step forward and say this is the right thing for the community. But those who have downtown parking lots are going to pay more in the short run. If they develop the parking lots and put buildings on them, they'll do better in the long run, and that's what we want.
Why should the property tax holders
Okay.
support this without being paid back?
Okay, yeah. That's our goal, is that we've sized the increase. The reason we aren't tripling the tax, as I said, is because when we reduced the millage cut to 14 mills, we reduced the increase. So if Jay Rising's calculator is correct, this should be revenue neutral. All right. Thank you all very much to be here. We'll be around to talk individually.